Let's talk about what I'd like to do to improve my channel this coming year. Happy New Year, guys! Blood Moon Bobby here, and I wanted to start off this new year, aside from making the Into the Spider-Verse review, which I hope you guys really liked. I wanted to talk about reflecting back on the videos I made in 2018 and how I ran my channel and how I can improve in 2019. And also just my overall thoughts on how far I've come since I started making the videos as Blood Moon Bobby back in August 2016, but I've been on YouTube before then making videos under the name Kumite World, but I decided to change the name to focus on more topics I was more interested in talking about. And also, because I wanted people to know I was a fan of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, so hence the name change. So the first thing I really wanted to get into was the subscriber growth at 239 subscribers, which hey, 239 subscribers. I'm surprised that I even got a following of 100 subscribers. Especially in my early days of social media, I couldn't really get much of a following, but just the fact that not only was I able to grow the subscriber growth from when Blood Moon Bobby first started, I was around 14 subscribers. Just the fact I was able to go from 14 to 239. And not just that, but also I have a very communicative following. I enjoy talking with you guys a lot in the comments, not just on YouTube, but across all the social media I'm on, is honestly really mind-blowing to me. And I think it really started to pick up when I was making more animation videos and more camera videos, which are easily the two biggest audiences I talk to a lot, especially those when I make videos regarding things like Butch Hartman's Oaxis service or Star vs. the Forces of Evil. So, I mean, I was just really enamored that I was even able to grow it past 100. I'm really thankful to you guys. I'm really glad you guys have stuck around all this time. And I'm also really grateful that I've met some really amazing fans over the past year, especially those coming from the Star vs. the Forces of Evil community. People like Valentina Ruiz, to Speed Force Spectre, to the amazing Heather Kip and Vivi, Red Velvet Cosplay, really amazing people over the past year. I'm really grateful that I've gotten to meet you guys as I was able to grow my YouTube following. I don't want to get into specific subscriber goals and what I want to accomplish in 2019, because I don't want to look back on this video and be like, oh, I didn't reach this at all in 2019. So I won't give any predictions, any hopes and dreams away in this video. It sounds rather depressing. But can I get to 300 subscribers within the next few months? I honestly hope so. I just hope this really keeps growing. And there's a couple other housekeeping behind the scenes things that I really need to improve on going forward. And I know, as well as you guys, I need to improve on a lot of these things in my videos. And the first thing I really need to do, especially since this is going to happen to any YouTube channel, whether how popular you get or, regardless of what you're talking about, whether you're opinionated or you're just basically stating the facts or giving instructions on how to deconstruct a phone, like jerry rig everything, I really need to stop chickening out when I make mistakes in videos, because I do a lot of research in many of my videos, especially ones that are about talking about news topics. I use at least 3 sources. Sometimes it can go up to 8-10 sources in my videos. You guys know that I leave links to my sources in the description of my videos, especially in my newer ones. But I really need to stop checking out when I, occasionally do slip up, because I would say right around last summer, I was doing really good with sub growth until when Comic-Con came out. And a big part of it was my own doing. The first part was I waited too long to get to do the Star vs. the Forces of Evil trailer reaction, because I vowed to myself that I wasn't going to make more videos until I get all the Comic-Con trailer reactions out of the way. And I think because I waited too long to do the trailer reaction, and as well as finishing up season 3 of Star, it might have made the YouTube algorithm think that I was slowing down in videos and my sub growth slowed. So that was unfortunate. The other thing, and this was an honest mistake on my part, was when I covered the Nikon Coolpix P1000, I accidentally got the zoom length wrong, and I think I also got one other thing wrong. And this person like really like nailed me to the cross on that one, saying like, you know, you misquoted and you need to do your research. Ironically enough, I do my research with a whole ton of sources. It's just that on that one I misread the zoom length on that one. I think I also got the maximum focal length on that camera wrong in that video, but I made a correction video in that. But I will tell you, in the time between when I initially posted that video and made that correction video, I was a nervous wreck. I was extremely paranoid when I was doing the correction video, and it kind of made me lose my motivation to come back and do better. So I really got to keep in mind, because I really think that's what hurt my sub growth in the middle of this past summer. And going forward, what I'm going to do, if I do make a mistake, and please feel free to correct me in the comments, you know, I honestly think the worst kind of mistake a YouTuber can make is if they slip up or they misspeak in their videos. If they never correct it and they don't apologize, don't correct their mistakes, honestly, that's when you can really get into them. You can tell them politely, hey, you got this wrong, or it's this instead of this. Like, I have a feeling 90% of YouTubers will listen to you, but the cocky ones who don't are the ones that are the really big problems, not the ones who will learn from their mistakes and are willing to try harder next time. So really got to stop that. I will say I've been handling that lately. Yes, I get trolls every now and then. I even had a couple trolls in my more recent videos, but I've learned to, they still get to me, but I still learn to persevere, just keep going with what I'm doing. I have friends come tell me to, you know, loosen up a bit, because I've realized that if I continue making videos being extremely paranoid, like even more than I am now, then I'm almost guaranteeing that I'm going to slip up again in the future, because I could focus on getting one aspect of the video as accurate as I can, but that either results in me not giving enough attention to another part of the video, or it could result in me taking too long to get the video out there. So just wanted to point that out. The other thing that I'm hoping to do in 2019 is improve my on-camera speaking even more than it is now. Because I know, and you know, I've gotten some really friendly, suggestive comments telling me that, hey, you seem really nervous on camera, you stutter, you sometimes mumble, make awkward pauses, which I definitely need to improve, but I will say that it's definitely not nearly as bad as when I started making videos as Blood Moon Bobby, because back then I didn't make cuts to that videos. It was literally just, this was back when I would either record using my webcam or just have a picture of the topic and just have my audio. I wouldn't cut out parts where I would say or make awkward pauses or say things like, you know, or yeah. So I definitely started cutting those bits out. I feel like in terms of me speaking on camera, that's just going to be something that improves over time. I know there's the option of I could write a script for my videos, but I feel like, one, that would take too long, because I would have to make sure that my scripts are, you know, have proper grammar and that I'm saying everything word for word off of that script. The other thing is that I really want these videos to be as authentic as possible. I don't want to have to like force my emotions. Like if I said something like the iPhone X sounds like it's going to be a really good phone. It has some really good features. Like, I feel like if I did do that, I feel like I would come off as really scripted and it would just feel incredibly forced. You know, I liken it to how there's this really cool YouTube channel, The Gaming Historian. I watch his videos a lot. Really great YouTuber, but I could tell a lot of his videos are scripted just in the way he speaks. And no offense to Norman Caruso, he's an amazing guy, the guy who hosts Gaming Historian, but he kind of comes off as a bit nerdy, a bit too scripted. Like, you know, it just, something about it just feels a little too prepared. You know, in my videos, especially since I'm discussing my thoughts on various topics on the animation, film, and tech industry, I want my opinions and my outlook on my videos to come off as genuine as possible. When I started making videos, I kind of had this idea of, wouldn't it be fun if I could make fun of how, because I do tend to be over the top with how I feel sometimes, especially with very provocative topics, but I've learned that when I do get provocative, then that means I miss the little details and it increases my chances of getting something wrong in the video. And also, just generally, I don't like to have to force myself to, be really angry or swear in videos. I know I do curse every now and then in my videos, but I usually don't, because I notice that when I do swear, it sometimes comes off as forced. So it's definitely going to be speaking habits I'm going to have to improve in 2019. But I feel like it's just going to have to be an evolutionary thing. And sometimes also, if I do go off of a script, the other thing is that when I'm recording videos, sometimes my thoughts actually come spontaneously, like as I'm recording the video. So if I was going off the script, I would have to stop the video, write that part in, make sure that I dotted my I's and crossed my T's, and make the video and get it on point. Also, did you notice that I had to scratch my face? I know that's definitely one thing I'm going to have to stop doing in 2019, where I noticed in some of my videos, I scratch my face, or pick my nose or pick my ear. I get itchy sometimes, and I know I'm going to have to stop doing it. It makes me look really unprofessional. It kind of makes me look like a slob. It's kind of like if you have a chef in the kitchen and next thing you know, you see him picking his nose. So I know that's really gross and that comes off as unprofessional, and those are things that I'm going to have to cut out in my videos going forward. And speaking of corrections, something I'm going to start doing, in fact, I'm going to be doing from the time you guys are seeing this video, is I'm going to be starting this thing on Facebook called Blood Moon Fridays on my Facebook page, where I go into more detail about the topics I talk about, especially if I have a personal background with them. Like if it's, let's say if it's a reboot of a show I used to watch as a kid, or if it's a tech product that's based off of one I used when I was younger, that kind of thing. Like, I noticed when I did my holiday reviews, there were many times where when I was doing them, half of the episode would be me just talking about my background experience with the shows and movies I watched, and the other half would be the actual review itself. So I know I really got to stop doing it. I will point out when I am familiar with, like, if I have a personal history with the product or the company, I will point that out in my videos. But if you want to know more details about them, like my childhood history with them, or how I feel about them personally, even more details, then be sure to check out my Blood Moon Fridays video on my Facebook page. And I know that a lot of my Facebook users really like when I post videos on Facebook. So there you go, another opportunity for me to post unique content on there, just like the unique content I've been posting on Instagram. The other thing, and this applies more so to especially tech stories I do here on Blood Moon Bobby, that I really want to cover more and more companies, especially companies that aren't super well known in the US. Like, I know I generally cover the super well known brands like LG, Samsung, Apple, Microsoft, and Google, but there's also a lot of companies, especially those in China, that have been coming up with some pretty unique, pretty creative smartphones overseas, like companies like Vivo, OnePlus, Huawei, and ZTE. And also, I just covered the Lenovo Z5 Pro GT, which is a Android smartphone with the Snapdragon 855 processor, and also the earpiece and the front-facing camera slides out. We don't see that. I mean, there have been phones that slid out like that before, but I never covered a phone like that before on my YouTube channel. So I'm hoping to cover more products from more companies, even if they're not like super mainstream in America. Like, I have a feeling the person watching this video, you and I are very familiar with the likes of Huawei, ZTE, and Xiaomi, but the average person may not. But I do think those products are definitely well worth talking about on this channel. Regardless about how you feel about them, they do come up with some unique products. And I am considering myself, I said before that I was considering getting the Google Pixel 2 because I wanted to get a near bezel-less phone, but I am actually considering picking up the OnePlus 6 instead, because it has much more recent hardware and it's sold at half the price of something like the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, at least initially. So I'd like to cover more and more companies, especially those that I've never really covered on this channel. I don't just want to cover the big guns, because even the lesser known brands are also coming up with arguably some of the most unique products in the smartphone world these days. And now I'm going to get into this thing that I will admit I did every now and again, but once too many times on the Blood Moon Bobby channel in 2018. And that is biting off way more than I can chew, especially talking about products that I may not like. I could talk about it technically and tell you about the tech specs and my prior experiences with similar products. But I mean, like last year, I made videos on things like the recent Phase 1 digital backs and the Leica M10D. And even though I could tell you guys about how they work technically and how, you know, and if the image sensor, like if that has a full frame sensor with plenty of megapixels, I really feel like those super, super, super high-end products, especially those kind of cameras, like ones that are beyond the Nikon D5s and the Canon 1DS Mark IIs, you know, like red cameras, Phase 1, and so on and so forth. I feel like those should be discussed by somebody who has much more experience covering those super, super professional niche sort of products. So I'm not going to be covering those kind of cameras or products going forward. And speaking of which, I know at times in 2018, I got kind of heated in some of my videos. Like rather infamously, one of my most viewed camera videos in 2018 was when I covered the Nikon D3500, and I said that it was a derivative camera that I would not buy. And I know the like to dislike ratio on that video is very, very split down the middle. And I remember getting a comment saying that oh, this is I don't trust this young man. He just seems like somebody who is a disgruntled Nikon D3400 user, which I've used the D3400 when I was in college. Like that was the camera I used for the students that I was teaching photography or training them in photography. But I just felt like it was a camera that could have used a few more updates, like especially things like a microphone jack. So I'm probably not going to title the video saying this is a camera I would not buy, or this is not a necessary upgrade but still a good camera nonetheless. I'll probably just say things like it still sounds like a good camera, or it doesn't have all the features that I think it should have, but it's still a solid option. Because I feel at the end of the day, I know this especially, you know, a lot of my videos, especially those, even those without provocative titles, you come here especially if it's a topic that everybody's talking about and you want to hear my honest, unique take on them. You're not here to like see me, you know, shit on a camera or shit on a certain celebrity or that kind of a thing. So I know you guys are in here more for the details and my take on this rather than in how provocative it is. And I know for a lot of you guys it pissed you off in some respects. Which also leads me to why I no longer covered the Olympics on this channel. Not that I stopped caring about them, like I still research the history of each of the Olympic Games and learning about the ones coming up like Tokyo 2020 or even the 2026 Olympic Games, which are under question. But that kind of a thing I feel should be discussed because in the case of the Olympics, you not only should know the history about them, because in the case of the Olympics, not only should you know the history of the Olympic Games, but I also feel like, especially if you're going to cover cities that are considering hosting the Olympics or are very on the edge of hosting them, you need a good understanding of the respective country's government and even how their economics work. Like, one of the big issues of the Olympic Games today is some countries like Austria and Switzerland are on the fence of hosting them because they cost so much money, especially really expensive games like Beijing 2008 and Sochi 2014. And the last thing, and you know, Calgary, he just rejected hosting the idea of hosting the 2026 Olympics. I mean, all these cities don't want something like a Sochi 2014 or Montreal 1976 where the games went way over budget and they were incredibly expensive. And in the case of the Montreal games, it put that city into massive debt for over 30 years. So I feel like that kind of stuff should be discussed with somebody with a much stronger economic background. I discussed my Olympic videos to the best of my abilities. I gave you guys the information about the news from really highly credible sources, really big names. But for those kind of videos, especially the analysis part, like analyzing them about what they can do and what their concerns are, I think that should be done by somebody with a much stronger Olympic coverage background. You know, rather than me, it's just like what I get I understand what I know from reading about them on the internet and learning about the history of the Olympic Games. So sorry that coverage is ending. Maybe I could talk about the Olympics in some other way down the line. And the other thing that I will talk about is over the last couple of years, I started going to a lot more cons and events. You know, like last year I went to Long Beach Comic Con, WonderCon. I visited the Star vs. the Forces of Evil Gallery Nucleus event. I'm not going to give details on which cons I'll be attending because I'm still on the fence about which ones I'll specifically attend. Like, I do want to go back to places like the Long Beach Comic Expo and WonderCon, but that's all going to be up to new resources and whether I can make it out there. And who knows? I mean, something like the Star vs. the Forces of Evil Gallery Nucleus event, that's not something I find out about at the very beginning of the year. That's something that I find out like in the middle of the year, and all of a sudden there's word that there's going to be a big Star vs. the Forces of Evil event. I hope there's one in 2019. And I know that Twitter user Valentina Ruiz really wants me to come to the San Diego Boba event, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll give you guys more concrete details about whether I'll be going or not. And in terms of any other final topics, I mean, I could keep going on to different dreams and ambitions I would like to conquer. You know, like, am I going to be setting up a Twitch channel? You know, I have all these ideas of, like, maybe I should set up a Twitch channel or I should set up a Discord server. All of these are, like, really on my mind, and all of these are things that I really want to start doing in 2019. But those are things that I don't really have final details on yet. Some of those things I really have to sit down and have a really good understanding of, especially Discord. But I think that we can expect, you know, some really big changes on my channel in 2019, because there's so many ways that I know I can improve myself, some of which I improved just from making videos for well over a year now, almost a year and a half doing these videos. So I'm really excited about what's coming up in 2019, and I hope you guys will be with me as we go along. But please post your thoughts down below on any suggestions you have about any the content I make or how I can improve it. Leave all those thoughts below. If you have any ideas for future videos, please feel free to email me. My email address is in the description. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later. Hey guys, be sure to like this Blood Moon Bobby video if you enjoyed it. Please share this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment. Be sure to ring the notification bell to be notified about my latest upload. Follow me on my social media pages at Blood Moon Bobby to find out about what I'll be covering next and for more of my opinions. Thanks for watching.